All right. So many years ago, one of the most transformative things that we did at Escape Climbing is to like blow up its revenue 10x over the span of 3 years was we bolted on a media empire and onto what we were already doing. Up to that point, we were growing through Google ads, a little bit of Facebook ads, a lot of Amazon ads. I think probably 75% of our business was coming from Amazon. And then we were also doing a lot of cold outreach. So reaching out to gyms and things like that, going to events and talking to people, that type of thing. And so the growth it got us to $300,000 of top line revenue, but we hit this ceiling and we couldn't really grow through it with those avenues anymore. And so we're like, well, what do we need to do if we want to hit 1 million in the next year? And it just seems so clear in hindsight that the path forward was to build a machine where people were attracted to us, like create a magnet that people were drawn in, wanted to see what we were doing. And then just seemed logical that they would be interested in doing business with us and buying stuff. It'd be easier to sell to people who were just attracted to you, right? And this was well before I knew anything about personal branding or I knew anything about brand just in general. Like I knew about it from a high level because you have to remember, like the businesses I had grown before this, it was like a window washing company and a gym. Like there was no need to build a brand around a window washing company per se. Like I had grown that off the back of ads and door knocking. So this was kind of like a new endeavor for us, was to build a media machine on the back of this business. And there's a couple of things that we did really well, and there's a couple of big mistakes that we made. I want to share with you what some of those mistakes were that I made that can maybe save you a little bit of time and trouble, because the biggest issue that we faced is we built the media machine around the company. Okay. And that doesn't sound like a bad thing initially, right? We built the brand or the media machine as though like Nike was the brand. And we wanted to build the aura of Escape. Well, that's good and dandy, but the truth is, until you get to like $100 million of top line revenue or even bigger, people aren't doing business with you based off of your brand positioning of the business. They're still more or less doing business with you based off the back of your brand as the owner. Right? People do business with people that they know, like, and trust, not really with a business. Like the brand of a $5 million business doesn't really matter, but the brand of the founder who had built a $5 million business, that actually can be quite a powerful thing. And so we made the mistake. We positioned Gary the Gorilla, Escape Climbing, all of our social media, all of our YouTube channel, all of everything that we did around the brand of Escape Climbing, trying to build that. And it made it harder. It made it really hard to grow on Instagram because people don't follow business accounts, right? They would have followed an individual, a rock climber, somebody who had soul and personality, but trying to build around a business, it was quite difficult. So if I had to go back, the very first thing that I would have done is I would have shifted the perspective from trying to build the brand of the business to trying to build the brand of the founder that would then attract people downstream to the business. So I would have singled out my business partner in particular, Ryan, who I think has a great, fantastic story. Now, he doesn't really want to be a social media star or an influencer or anything like that, but there's ways that you could have done this that would have been very easy to build his brand and then funnel that machine back towards Escape. So that was the very first thing. It'd be much easier, instead of trying to build the brand of your copywriting agency, just build it off the back of you. Okay. The second thing is, the way that I built that machine really relied on my individual talents as a copywriter, as a speaker, communicator, as an idea generator. And the team that I had built around and underneath of me were really just extensions of my talent. So it's like the genius with 1,000 hands. I don't want to call myself a genius. Let's say it's the idiot king with 1,000 hands can accomplish a lot, right? But the idiot king who has 1,000 geniuses working alongside him, well, that guy can get done a lot more. And so the big mistake that I made was I was the linchpin. I was the one that was coming up with all the ideas. I was directing all of the art. I was directing all of the storytelling. I was directing everything. And that worked. For the scale that we were at, I needed to be that because we didn't have the capacity to go and hire an agency or to do, have a big in-house team or anything like that. But the problem is, when I stepped out of that business, the machine was there, but the machine still relied on me as being the one to turn the crank. And so Escape actually went through this really interesting period when I left. We had just come off of 2020, which was an incredible growth year. I've described this story in other podcasts, but effectively, COVID wiped out our competition. We were the only ones left standing. And so we grew by default. And so I left at the end of that year, and we went through a stagnant period for the last couple of years. The company hasn't really significantly grown since I left. It's kind of maintained. And a lot of that is simply due to that I didn't build a machine that could continue growing without me. I built a machine that relied upon me, that could take my inputs and create extreme outputs, but I didn't understand how to build the team underneath of that, how to create the systems and processes that they could have kept turning the crank themselves. So that's the next big mistake, is that you have to figure out how to build your media machine in a way that doesn't rely on you, because you do want to be able to step out of that role so you can focus exclusively on the things that are going to bring you the most value, most time, or most bang for your buck. And in a lot of cases, you sitting down doing the strategy, doing the ideation, doing the scripting, that's not going to be the highest and best use of your time, as much as just sitting down in front of the camera and talking, right? So the other thing, here's a really big mistake. I didn't make this one, thankfully. I got really lucky. Well, no, I did make this one to a degree, but I want to share this one because I saw a friend just commit it literally this week. I just emailed him, DM'd him, and said, hey, I see you're doing this thing. You need to stop that immediately. It's going to kill your business. So when we first started, we set this goal of growing on Instagram by a certain number of followers, because we were looking at our competitors and we said, hey, they got this many followers, and we do just about as much revenue as they do. And therefore, if they have this many followers, we should be able to get that many followers too, right? That was kind of our mindset. And so we put a big emphasis on follower growth, and then we were tracking a lot of likes and just the vanity metrics around, are we growing? Are we improving? And that's a metric to track, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter how many followers you had. What we really cared about was how engaged those followers were, and if they were coming back to our website and actually buying product, right? Like, that's the purpose of the media machine. It's to magnetize, draw people in, to mechanize it so that it can operate without you, and then monetize it. And I was kind of going about it all wrong in the beginning, focusing more on the vanity metrics of follower growth and likes more than I was is this post actually leading to a downstream revenue growth? And so the mistake that I saw my buddy make today is that his last 10 posts out of nowhere, all of a sudden had this skyrocket of engagement, right? Before, his stuff would get like 20, 30 likes. And now his last 10 posts have all gotten like 520, a little too suspicious, right? When you see that kind of growth out of nowhere, and then kind of every post is maintaining like 520, 517, 513 likes, you look at that and you go, okay, somebody's just buying some engagement. Now, he didn't know that. He was working with an agency that said, we guarantee results. And he was like, I was wondering what they were doing, that suddenly we were seeing like this big spike of engagement. And I was like, they're buying engagement. That's what's happening. And so you need to stop that. If that's you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're trying to boost the wrong metrics, but that's not going to get you in front of the people that you actually are going to do business with. So that's number one, is you're focusing on the wrong side of the stick. Number two is you're going to get your account shut down. Number three, you're going to turn away the people who actually know what you're doing. And they're going to go, nah, this guy's he's not a legit player, right? And so you got to focus on the correct metrics. The correct metric for putting out content for your media machine is to drive a business result. And so if you have 10x'd your engagement on Instagram, but your revenue has not also 10x'd, you are doing something wrong, right? Or, you could even set that metric even more conservatively. If you 10x on Instagram, but you don't double your revenue, then what was the point of it, right? So make sure that you're tracking the right outputs for the inputs that you're putting in here. So those are just three of the mistakes, three of the things that I wish I would have done differently. I would have thought about differently. Take these, run with them. If you want some help building your media machine or your media empire on top of your business, because I think every business owner should have a media empire. It's not just about having a personal brand. It's about having the machine under it that can drive revenue. If you want help with that, shoot me a DM with the word media, just media. Find me on Instagram, the Anthony Vicino. Shoot me a DM that says media, and let's see if I can help you figure out how to bolt on one of these machines onto your business and take it to that next level. So that's going to do it for me, guys and gals. I'll see you in the next episode.